where we announced the results and the findings of Devil in Disguise, we had some pretty shocking findings. And, of course, that investigation never ended. It continued to roll on. In January 2024, I announced that that investigation had resulted in 5 indictments issued in 3 upstate counties against 64 defendants over 327 narcotics and other drug-related charges. Since that time, the investigation, which has been run by many of the agencies represented by the individuals standing behind me, have continued to deliver results in South Carolina. It has actually grown. We now have indicted 108 defendants. That's an additional 44 defendants from the initial press conference we did a year and a half ago. We've gone to 2 other counties. I believe it was Jasper and Lexington, so now in 5 counties here in South Carolina. We're now over 380 charges filed. That's up from 327. Involved mostly with fentanyl trafficking. Devil in Disguise investigation, from a historical standpoint, has seized 44 kilograms of cocaine, 4 kilograms of fentanyl, 10 kilograms of methamphetamine, and over $1 million in drug-related proceeds. We've also confiscated numerous firearms, including assault-style weapons. To give you some perspective, when I did the press conference in Greenville last year, I wanted to bring some perspective to what 1 kilogram of fentanyl can do. According to the DEA, 1 kilogram of fentanyl can kill 500,000 people. That's 500,000 lives right there. And they seized 4 kilograms of fentanyl through the course of Devil in Disguise. And I'm going to apologize. I misspoke. The numbers that I just gave you were the amounts of drugs that were seized in this. But to give you historical context of the drugs, we believe that 540 kilograms of fentanyl have historically been trafficked through the trafficking operation. Not what we seized, but what we believe have historically occurred. And the 850 kilograms of cocaine and 500 kilograms of methamphetamine. Those are historical numbers that we believe has occurred through this trafficking operation. Now, this drug trafficking operation is all originating with Mexican drug cartels operating around the United States and obviously ending up here in South Carolina. We've had a number of state grand jury investigations, some involving prison people who are currently incarcerated in South Carolina prisons coordinating with Mexican drug cartels. But basically, Mexican cartels provide multiple major sources of supply for cocaine, fentanyl, and methamphetamine. They have members of their organizations already here in the United States and even in South Carolina, where they fly to different locations to distribute shipments of cocaine, ultimately resulting in hundreds of kilograms being trafficked here in South Carolina. Cartels would coordinate with members of their organization, especially in prisons here in South Carolina, to have large loads of fentanyl smuggled into the U.S. and then have other members of the organization transport those drugs here in South Carolina. The fentanyl is being used to adulterate or basically increase the supply of cocaine, methamphetamine, and other illegal drugs. Now, I looked this up, and this is what I announced in last year's press conference, just in economic terms. Why are they so aggressive on this? In economic terms, 1 kilogram of fentanyl or cocaine has a street value, and this is as of a year and a half ago. I would suspect it's probably gone up in light of everything being shut down at the border. But as of a year and a half ago, $25,000 to $30,000 for just 1 kilogram of fentanyl or cocaine, and 1 kilogram of methamphetamine has approximately a street value of $4,500. This is incredible. I mean, what is happening at the southern border, and I was at the southern border last August, and when I was down there meeting with Texas Department of Public Safety and Drug Enforcement Administration agents, they were telling us that the borders have been wide open and that these drugs have been basically unimpeded pouring across the southern border, and it's been pouring into the interior of the United States, usually coming up through Atlanta, which is a major hub for that type of trafficking operation. I have often said that in the upstate of South Carolina, it is the front porch to the state of South Carolina when it comes to drug trafficking and other illicit activities. And that is why I want to give a special shout out to the Greenville Drug Enforcement Unit. They're the ones, and that is a collaborative group of upstate law enforcement agencies, and I'm going to identify them here in just a minute. But it is a collaborative working group, task force of upstate law enforcement agencies that actually caught on to this drug trafficking operation. And that Greenville Drug Enforcement Unit brought in other agencies, and then they partnered with this, the Attorney General's office and members of our state grand jury division to basically expand this operation. And so we could not do this without our federal partners who are here today, without our state and county partners. Two sheriffs actually are standing right behind me right now. Sheriff Tommy Blankenship from Pickens County and Sheriff Hobart Lewis from Greenville County standing immediately behind me. And this mattered enough to upstate communities for them to drive down here to talk about this what we're talking about today in this press conference. When I met last summer with those local officials down on the Texas border, they said that it was just at an all-time high, the amount of drugs pouring into the United States. And so the policies that shut down the border, we can basically thank the current administration, our federal partners up there for this. I was in Washington, D.C. last night during National Police Week, meeting with Attorney General Pam Bondi and law enforcement leaders from all over the country, and heading off the fentanyl trafficking in this country is a top priority across this country, from California all the way over to the East Coast. When you see the expansion of gangs, the expansion of cartel activity, we have to work together. We can't rely solely on the southern border, the enforcement of laws at the southern border. We have to work together here in the interior of South Carolina, which is why I want to give a special shout out to all of the agencies that are here today. Standing up here with me today are representatives from not all of the agencies, because not all of the agencies could be here, but I just want to give a special shout out to those people, the leaders who are standing behind me today. You heard about Sheriff Blankenship, Sheriff Lewis, but I also want to read out some other names of folks representing other organizations. We have Captain Rusty Scoggins and Lieutenant Josh Durham with the Anderson Sheriff's Department. Representing Greenville Drug Enforcement Unit is Commander Johnny Westmoreland and Assistant Commander Chad Maltby. We have representing HSI, Assistant Agent in Charge Rob Burgess and Regional Agent in Charge Russ Lindstadt. Representing SLED, and SLED is who's not here, but he is represented by Major Frank O'Neill, Captain Jason Wells, and Lieutenant Tyrell Woodreen. Lieutenant Bryant Gibson is representing the Easley Police Department, and then Sergeant Major Shaw with the South Carolina National Guard hiding off over here. Prosecuting this case, obviously, we're going to have Creighton Waters, our chief attorney in the State Grand Jury Prosecution Division, and he'll be assisted by Jennifer McKellar. And I do want to just read, and I've identified the names of the people who are here today representing agencies, but I just want to talk about how complex this investigation is, the multi-jurisdiction nature of it, and how many agencies are involved in bringing all of this to fruition. In addition to this office, the Attorney General's office, we have the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, the 13th Circuit Solicitor's Office led by Walt Wilkins, the United States Attorney's Office, the United States Department of Homeland Security, the Greenville County Multi-Jurisdictional Drug Enforcement Unit, the South Carolina National Guard Counter-Drug Task Force, the Greenville County Sheriff's Office, Pickens County Sheriff's Office, Anderson County Sheriff's Office, the Greenville County Coroner's Office, the Pickens County Coroner's Office, the Easley Police Department, the Pickens Police Department, the Greenville Police Department, Travelers Rest Police Department, Greer Police Department, Malden Police Department, and the Fountain Inn Police Department. That's a lot of law enforcement agencies working together to protect this state and keep our citizens safe. It is also important for me to notice that I believe, Creighton, correct me if I'm wrong, 6 deaths, is it 6 deaths that we have confirmed, at least 6 fentanyl homicide deaths that we have charged with murder. And again, this past year, we argued for the fentanyl. We advocated for the fentanyl bill to be passed in the General Assembly, and that is why we were advocating for the fentanyl bill that would give anyone who knowingly sells drugs that have fentanyl in it that results in a person dying could get up to 30 years. That's going to be a wonderful tool for law enforcement and prosecutors to use, and that is why we so vigorously advocated for it. At this time, Sheriff, do we have any other agencies that want to speak? Creighton, you want to make a quick comment on what our team has been doing here?
Absolutely, John.
Yeah.
So again, hello everybody. My name is Creighton Waters. I serve as the Chief Attorney of the State Grand Jury, and I again also want to start out by thanking all the folks that are behind us today. Again, that's the one thing that I think I have the best prosecution job in the state, and the reason is that I get to work with all these partners, and I get to see the fruits of that. When you have multi-jurisdictional efforts like these, we really all can punch much harder above our weight class than we could individually, and I think you see the results of that here today. Fentanyl is obviously the biggest narcotics trafficking problem that we face because it is so deadly, and it was particularly deadly in 2022. And again, I want to give a shout out to the Greenville Drug Enforcement Unit, the DEU, Commander Westmoreland, and their efforts initially to try to fight that overdose scourge, and eventually they partnered with SLED, they partnered with HSI, and they partnered with us at the State Grand Jury, and then it just grew from there with all kinds of agencies involved to be very aggressive about this, to get this dope off the streets and to provide a high level of accountability to the dealers that are doing that. And make no doubt, they are all innocent until proven guilty, and that's the rules, but we want to be very clear, and we want to always be very public in making it clear to those who deal fentanyl that you are responsible for your dope. And if you're throwing out hot dope and it kills people, we are going to bring very serious charges against you. The other thing I want to say is that we have seen not only the efforts of this law enforcement effort that includes traditional law enforcement techniques as well as advanced law enforcement techniques, but anecdotally we're starting to see some effects of the supply being squeezed a bit by greater efforts at enforcement. And so I think all of us up here, even though it's still a very serious problem and one that all these officers fight every day, we are seeing some positive results and effects on the supply. That doesn't mean we can get complacent, but this is, I think, a positive step today as we continue to fight fentanyl, and we're seeing good trends as we go forward. We have a few images up front of just some of the seizures that are part of this case. Again, this is just some of them. But you can see the large amount of cash that's been seized. You can see large amounts of cocaine, even a brick of fentanyl in there as well. And again, these are just some representative images of some of the excellent work that law enforcement has done during the course of this particular case. We always say that if we don't make a narcotics case a white-collar case, then we didn't go high enough, and I think that's another thing that you've seen some of the great result. So anyway, thank you all very much for coming, and General, I'll turn it back over to you.
I'm going to wrap it up, and if there are any questions, we'll take them in just a few seconds. I just want to, again, say all of our defendants are presumed innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. We need to say that, but again, I want to have a message for the cartels out there, for gangs out there who are peddling this poison in South Carolina. Look behind me. This is just a fraction of the army that's coming for you. We will come for you, we will get you, and we will put you under the prison if you continue to do this. Again, I want to thank the media for being here today, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
I don't want to put the cart before the horse on this, but once the governor, I think you can presume he's going to sign the fentanyl-induced homicide Dillon's law. Once that happens, would you imagine there are going to be more charges forthcoming with that new offense in the state code?
Possibly. Absolutely. We want to put this law into work right away. As soon as the governor signs it, we're going to write it as soon as we can.
Will this be from the kids on the street all the way up to the cartels, or?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, anyone that this law applies to, we're going to apply it to it aggressive. We're going to apply it to them aggressively.
Can you list the exact 5 counties?
Greenville, Anderson, Pickens, Jasper, and Lexington. Since last year, we've added Jasper and Lexington. Again, we talked about this being an upstate case because it all originated with upstate counties, but now right across in my home county of Lexington and then all the way in the low country with Jasper. So it's a statewide problem. And those are just the counties we know about. And earlier, think about the historical numbers. I mean, historical numbers are shocking. Think of the number of people that could die from these drugs being peddled on our streets. And so this is when people say what keeps you up at night, there's a lot of things that could keep me up, but this is right there near the top of the list. The fentanyl trafficking is a serious, serious issue here in this state. Any other questions?
So does this bring an end to this operation, or is it still ongoing?
Ongoing. This operation is going to continue to be ongoing, and I will tell you right now, unrelated to this operation, I'm going to be at the southern border with the acting ICE Director, Tom Homan, later this week, actually with a number of other federal law enforcement agents and attorneys general. We're going down there to, this is the end point where the drugs are coming to. We're going to go try to understand what we can do better at the southern border. But I'm going to be with Director Homan here in a couple of days at the southern border. So I'll be happy to report back to you on what we find down there.
The people they're contacting in jail or in prison, obviously their cell phones. Why is there not why is there not a bill where you can put jammers in prisons?
That is something we have been arguing for years. Before he became the acting U.S. Attorney, Brian Sterling was a national leader with prison directors. Obviously, they have software now that allows them to play whack-a-mole. When a cell phone IP pops up, they're able to whack it down, but putting a dome over the prisons would require a federal change to the federal regulations. They can do it in federal prisons, but it doesn't allow these companies to sell the technology to state prisons, and that is something we've been trying to change. I have been told by prison correction officials that the current system, the current technology being used, while probably not as good as the Iron Dome, it is at least allowing them to curtail some of those cell phone uses in prison. But I would like to have like an Iron Dome over the prison system, but that would require federal changes. And special interests have been gunking that up. Any other questions? I have a bill signing at the White House, and I have to go catch a flight here in a minute, so I will be able to stay for 2 or 3 minutes after we end this press conference, but then I have to get on the road. So if any of you want to see me, you'll have about 2 or 3 minutes. But otherwise, I want to say a final thank you to the leaders up here, the men and women, and it's just not you all, it's who you represent. And so I want to say thank you to these folks up here and to my team standing off to my left. We would have no success without all of us working together. So thank you all for being here today. This concludes the press conference.